Hello, welcome. So today we're going to be looking at r/MaliciousCompliance. I do like this subreddit, and quite often it's people finding ways to do as they're told, but also get back at their bosses at the same time. And I'm so here for that. Corporate life, no matter where you are, I think it's all just such steamy turd. I really do. The way that people are treated like a commodity and like bots is insane. So yeah, I'm all here for sticking it to the man while not risking getting the sack. If that sounds like something you'd be interested in listening to today, then please do stick around and enjoy. And don't forget to like and subscribe, please. I would love to have you here. Okay, first post. You're not paid to think. Cool. Enjoy 7K in rotten shrimp. Back in 2022, I worked night shift at a grocery store in Florida, stocking frozen. One night, I noticed the walk-in freezer was at 20 degrees F. Should be 0. What's 20 degrees Fahrenheit in Celsius? Let's find out what that is in non-silly terms. What is 20 degrees F in Celsius? -6. It's -6 Celsius. Okay, cool. You Americans and your silly measurements. I go tell my manager, real hard ass, always barking orders like he's running a boot camp. He cuts me off mid-sentence. You're not paid to think, just stock the damn shelves. Cool. Next morning, whole seafood section's trash. Shrimp, salmon, crab's legs, all thawed and leaking. Ew. I bet that absolutely stank. Store lost over $7,000. Corporate shows up, peed off. Manager tries to throw me under the bus. Why didn't you report it? I just said, manager told me I'm not paid to think. They checked the cameras and the audio. Confirmed everything. Corporate backed me hard. Dave was reassigned, aka fired a week later. Never saw him again. I got moved to dairy lead a month later. That's hilarious. Like, imagine being such an a-hole for no reason. Like, why? Like, what is the need? And then down in the comments, De Bozeman says, Dave wasn't paid to think either, and a good thing, because he clearly wasn't capable. Yeah, clearly. OP then says, laughing my butt off. Exactly. If thinking was part of the job, Dave would have been unemployed way sooner, literally. Punishing me for underperforming for 1 day in 2 years? No problem. Hello everyone, I will try to be concise. Background, I work at a company where I handle mid to high level complaints to managers, PR and legal. My daily requirement is 40 cases per day. There are some of my team colleagues that struggle with this, but I don't. And I don't feel lazy to stop at 40. So I have handled 50 to 55 basically every day for the past 2 years. There is no bonus or even recognition for this. I just did it because I felt a friendly obligation to the company. Complaints can be a 5-minute resolution or a 2-hour Zoom call for our New York lawyers. It's a gamble, really. Already, please don't go above and beyond for employers because they would never do it for you. If everyone just took the attitude of, if I do not get paid to do it, then I am not doing it, all these companies that go, oh, well, it shows good this, that, or the third, would have to stop because no work would get done. So they'd have to start paying people for the actual work they do. Let's not go above and beyond for these people that are basically lining their pockets off your misery. Anyway, the event. Recently I had a day where I felt a bit sick and at the same time had a bad luck of getting only very hard cases that required more time. So I had 39 cases, 1 under the requirement. I thought nothing of it as my weekly average was way off the charts, 50 plus as usual. The very next day I felt better and went back to my usual high numbers. Come Monday, I had an emergency one-on-one with my manager where I was informed that I had to attend a 3-day workshop seminar on how to best meet requirements because I underperformed last week. My jaw dropped and I asked, don't they count the weekly, monthly, yearly numbers, to which I was told the daily requirement is 40 and this is standard practice, nothing we can do. Basically, it was a workshop for underperformers who had 20 to 30 out of 40 cases daily. That's so wrong, so wrong. And this is another thing I hate about corporations and just the way working life is. They don't allow for people to have a human bad day, a very human day. Again, people aren't robots. Some days they are going to underperform for illness, stress, insert bloody reason here that should be acceptable. And it was nothing hard, but I did need to drive for the 3 days after work and listen to HR guys giving bad advice, as they never actually handled the cases in real life, and I had to talk about what I will do to improve my numbers and reach the 40, as the nonsense HR talk calls it. This made me lose hours and hours of my free time, and I was livid. After it was over, I had a long think, and I decided I will do exactly that. I will reach the 40, and that's it. Ah, yes, I like that. Exactly, do what you paid for and bugger all else. The aftermath. For the past few months, I go into work, I handle 40 cases, my daily requirement, and then I do nothing for the rest of my shift. I've had multiple one-on-ones with my manager during this time, and I am constantly asked, is something wrong? To which I naively reply, no. Am I in trouble? Am I underperforming? And then, of course, they say that I am 100% within daily requirements, and that way I shut the conversation down. This is real life, so I can't really say a clever comeback or something like that, but I do keep playing the fool that has no idea what is wrong. But I find satisfaction in knowing that they used my overachieving and are now suffering for the lack of it. Before Easter, they put in an internal ad for promoting another 2 managers. So my guess is how that is a number of people they will now need to pay extra just because they lost me as an overachiever, and they lost me for no reason other than their own stupidity. Thank you all. I hope I did not bore you. Loco8765 says, they gave you a class on how to reach the 40. You are applying what you were taught. Also an example of bad metrics ill used. And then Gelatin Go says, businesses pretending that they are data-driven usually just means they are too lazy to apply common sense. Instead, they micromanage employees with almost arbitrarily chosen metrics without thought. They deserve malicious compliance and the resulting loss of market share. Exactly. A lot of the time, I think it's just a power trip from the guys above you. I really do. I think it's just them being like, I'm going to tell you to do this because I can. Because it makes no real logical sense. Next post, we don't pay extra time if it's under 15 minutes. Okay, I can make it work. I was a software engineer for a company, and out of nowhere they implemented an electronic control on our work time. Before that, we would work extra on good faith. If I had to do 2 more hours one day, the next day I could get in 2 hours later without a problem. In the new system, I had to clock in at 8 a.m. If I didn't, it would consider I was late and lose the entire first hour, and clock out at 5 p.m. with 1 hour lunch break. Work laws here in Brazil are different from the ones in the US and most of the posts here. If the company tracks your work time, they have to pay you extra time on anything over 40 hours a week. Sometimes I would get in a bit earlier, like 8:50 or something, and leave at 5:10. At the end of the first month, I was surprised my extra hours were 0. On the previous system, I wouldn't care, but they were the ones that decided to track this. I decided to do some digging on how the tracking software worked and found out that anything less than 15 minutes per check-in was completely ignored. 99% sure that that was against the law, but I could work with that. From that day on, guess who arrived 16 minutes earlier every day? Came back from lunch 16 minutes earlier if I was done and had nothing else to do, and left 16 minutes later. At the end of the second month, management called me in to explain why I had over 3 times more extra hours than most of the other workers. I just told them to check their system. I'm not the one keeping track of that anymore. To my surprise, they actually did pay everything that I was owed. I could sue and easily win, and did not change how the system worked. I kept doing that for another 3 months before changing jobs to a remote one. I mean, yeah. I honestly don't get how these companies are so baffled when they implement these stupid things. And then they're like, wait, this is coming back to bite me in the butt. What? Funnily enough, if your employees are getting the work done, let them arrive a little bit later. If they stayed later the day before, let them arrive later the day after. If they always get the work done and they never leave anything at the end of the week, what's the problem? Down in the comments, Corin38 says, inflexible systems are made to be broken. Nice to hear that the employer actually paid you afterwards. Honestly, yeah, I'm surprised by that. And then Busted Tap says, for a while, our shop in the US would round to the nearest quarter hour, arrive within 7 minutes or less of your clock in, rounded to the exact start time, but get there 8 minutes before, rounded to 15 minutes before your start time. Yeah, I may have gained that system for a little while. Why not? And then Two Dogs Life says, I used to do time cards for punch systems years ago, and you got what you punched. It was only rounded off after the week was totaled, so 43.28 was 43.3, well 43.21 was 43.2. I am pretty certain it was a wash at the end of the year. We weren't allowed to round off daily totals. What a crazy system. And then last but not least, she thought I was working that day. I was just not at the store. This is pretty complicated, so sorry it's going to be long. TLDR at the bottom. In the early years of being a pharmacist, jobs in my city were hard to come by. I managed to get full-time hours by working for a couple of pharmacist friends at both of their stores. They would work out my schedule together and put an X on my schedule on the days I was at the opposing store. One store was downtown and one was in the suburb I lived in. At the suburb pharmacy, I had a co-worker, Dee, who could just not wrap her brain around the fact that if there was an X by my name, I was in fact working. Just at the other store. Multiple times I would have call after call on my cell phone and hang-ups on my answering machine at home because she wanted me to cover her shift at the suburb store when I was already working downtown. Worst thing was my cell phone charged me for every single call, so after the second time of her pulling this, I would get downtown and immediately pull the battery off my phone. This made her angry at me for ignoring her, and we had a tepid relationship after that. How hard is it? Like, if there is an X, they're at work. If there's not, they're not. Like, is it that difficult for you? Time went on and the suburb store started expanding their nursing home operations, so I was able to work there full-time instead. I still had a great relationship with the downtown store, and they had me keep the keys in case of emergencies. They would occasionally come up, and the X would be on the schedule by my name. Sadly, Dee became the assistant manager and now thought she was the boss of me. Now, downtown pharmacist's daughter was getting married and suburb pharmacist was invited to all the festivities. I got scheduled to work the Thursday before at the downtown store. The X went by my name on the suburb schedule. I was also going to the wedding. I was good friends with the daughter, but missing the Mendy party on the Thursday I was working for her mum. I was on the phone with her on my break one time, and she was saying how sorry she was I was missing it, and I said, don't worry, I'll just doodle brown Sharpie all over my hands and pretend I was there when we weren't busy. Okay, I'm just going to clarify. So from what I can gather, a Mendy party is where they do all those like really cool patterns on the hands with the henna. So I'm assuming what they're saying is they'll just do it in Sharpie instead because they can't be there for the party. My understanding of it, of course, is very basic, so feel free to correct me if I'm wrong on that, but that's what I believe it is. It's not the OP saying they're going to colour themselves a different colour, and which could obviously be taken as offensive. So I thought I'd best just clarify that. Now, at that exact week, we were getting new pharmacy software downloaded. Nursing homes are run on a batch system where all the labels are run about 5 days before, and then all the bubble packs are made up during that time, and then the actual billing is done on the Thursday for the meds to be delivered Friday. Dee decided that she did not want the batch to be done, and just wanted everything to be processed and made up on Thursday for just the first week. My technician was freaking out, so I just told her to make up the usual drug cards, Lipitor, aspirin 81, multivitamin, Altase, etc., without any patient data, just to help speed things along. Dee overheard her and told the tech that she wasn't allowed to do that and that this younger generation is just scared of hard work. I panicked a bit because I was the only one of my age, Gen X, as all my co-workers were boomer aged or older. I went and checked the schedule and yep, there's an X by my name. I won't be there for the crap show, but somehow Dee thinks I am. Why should I tell her any different? Oh no, love it. Thursday rolls around and at 12:30 my cell phone starts blowing up. It's in my purse in the safe because I don't get a lunch break, only pharmacist, and everyone can hear it. Out comes the battery. Oh, the days where you used to be able to take the battery out your phone. How good were they? I get home after work and there's screaming and swearing on my answering machine. A locum pharmacist worked this morning shift and wasn't instructed to do anything, so everything was left for Dee when she arrived at 12:30. She had to work late to finish over 500 prescription cards. I come in the next day and she's still furious. You said you were working. I heard you talking about the effing Mendy thing. I told her I was working, just not at the store, as evidenced by the X by my name. I learnt then that she could eavesdrop on the break room from one place in the pharmacy when she herself was the only pharmacist working at the time. All my breaks were taken in my car after this. Yeah, I don't blame you. TLDR, co-worker tried to make my day absolutely hell by trying to make me do 5 days of work in one day, a day that I wasn't working, so she had to do it. I love that. That is amazing. Like, I never understood why some people as well, some managers, they will sit there and they'll be like, no, you have to do it all on this one day, when you could literally just do it bit by bit and it makes no difference and it makes it absolutely easier for everyone else. They're like, they just want everything to be done the hard way, and it's like, why? Work smarter, not harder, babes. And then down in the comments, Youre of the Squirrel says, the satisfying sigh of complete joy and satisfaction when someone falls into the trap that they set for themselves. Literally. And then Mountain Butterfly 38 says, you fell victim to one of the classical blunders. Honestly, I love these because it's just desserts for a lot of these people. Like, why'd you gotta be so awkward? I don't get it. If I was a manager, I would rather my staff be happy because then at least I know crap's gonna get done. Like, half these places where they end up going bust, you'll hear later that the managers were absolutely awful and that everyone was just miserable, and then all of a sudden it's quite clear why they went bust. Okay, so that's going to do it for today. If you made it all the way to the end, then I appreciate you very much. If you give a little like and subscribe, I'll appreciate you even more. It helps you find your way back here. I'd be very interested to know what you guys think of malicious compliance. I like it. I find it very vindicating to read these stories, and I live vicariously through everyone who's given the middle finger to their boss in a way that isn't so confrontational, because I was never able to subdue my temper enough to not get in trouble when I worked in a normal job. I'm so glad I'm self-employed now, because my goodness, like, I was on the verge of getting sacked every day. But yeah, whatever it is that you're doing for the rest of the day, I hope you have a really good rest of your day. Goodbye.